spoken came into my mind, and it was, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So you see, the theme that was running through the service today is all about abundance, which, do we all want abundance?
Yes.
Yes, don't we? Yes, in all areas of our lives, in career, in money, in relationship, in every area of our life, in the peace to fill us. That's what we want, abundance. So, okay then, the theme is abundance. So what does that mean? Does anyone have any idea what abundance is, one word? I can't hear you.
Love.
Love.
Prosperity.
Prosperity.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Money.
Plenty. Did I hear?
Yeah.
Very nice. So it's all of those things and even more. And that's what we're going to talk about this whole month. But today, before we explore what Jesus meant by that statement, perhaps we first might define abundance, which we kind of did right here and there. Is all of these different aspects, all of these qualities of feeling, this being in that state of well-being. That's a great affirmation. I am in the state of well-being, because then everything is blending together to uplift us, to bring us to that place of peace, of joy, of prosperity, of love. So I believe that the master teacher Jesus, in that one statement, was telling anyone who would listen, I have come to show you how to create this for yourself. We got to be able to create it, to use it for ourselves. I will give you a teaching and a practice that will allow you to live a more abundant life. Not just for some, but for everyone. For everyone. If you were sitting out there right now saying, well, that just might be well and good for some people, but you don't know my circumstances, you don't know my great debt, you don't know the great amount of pain I am in, you don't know the depths of my despair, my illness, etc., etc., etc. Well, yes, I do. Maybe I don't know yours, but I know mine. And so, since we're all having this human experience, we go in and out of these circumstances, these experiences, these different illnesses, sadnesses, all that stuff, these challenges that present themselves to us. But I also know that when we are immersed in the middle of all of these circumstances, in the pain, in the debt, in the despair, whatever it is, things can look pretty desperate. But that's the time and that's the place to move into alignment with the great I am, with Spirit, with God, with whatever you want to call this power that created all that is, was, and ever shall be. Yesterday, at the expo, I heard Dr. Eben Alexander give that talk. He wrote, oh goodness, I can't remember the book. The one, Five Proofs of, or whatever it is, Proof of Heaven. Proof of Heaven. So he talked about his coma and his death experience, because he did die, and he came back again, and he saw, and it totally changed. He was a neurosurgeon, so it totally changed his way of thinking, and he saw that all was consciousness. And the big message that he got was, you are loved. There is nothing to fear. If we take that with us in all of these circumstances, which, by the way, change, circumstances don't stay the same. They change. But that spiritual truth within each and every one of us, that's eternal. That's the consciousness. That's the beauty, the power. That is Spirit itself. So we're going to kick up this whole monthly thing this morning with, do you believe in magic? That's the name of the talk. And does anyone know who wrote that? For the baby boomers out there?
John Sebastian. Love and Spoonful.
Thank you! Loving Spoonful. We should have a prize for you on that one. I thought everybody would have known that. Well, anyway. What is magic? And I'm not talking about the magic we see on the physical plane, the sleight of hand, the magic that Mark Young does, since he's a magician. I wanted to use you today. He is a magician. But we're also not talking about the magician who was on a cruise ship, who regularly performed sleight of hand tricks. He had a regular spot on the ship's program in the cabaret evening, and so he was the entertainment, and he actually was quite good. He was a great magician, but he had one big problem. His routines were regularly ruined by an on-board parrot who would fly around squawking and giving away his secrets, saying things like, "It's up his sleeve, it's up his sleeve, it's in his pocket, it's in his pocket, it's in his mouth, it's in his mouth." And he would do this all the time. So this magician was getting pretty sick, as you would, Mark, pretty sick of this, really getting tired of it, and he threatened to do physical harm to this bird if he didn't stop it, or did it one more time. Then one evening, just as he was going to disappear in a puff of smoke, the ship hit an iceberg and sank immediately. The amazing thing is that the only two that survived were the magician and the parrot. And the magician was in a haze on this driftwood as it was floating around, and he opened his eyes in this haze, and he could see the parrot staring at him with one beady eye. And the parrot just sat there and kept staring at him and staring at him. And the wheels of his little bird brain were going around and around. And eventually, he said to the magician, "Okay, what did you do with the ship? I give up. I can't figure it." I'm not talking about that kind of magic today. The magic I'm speaking of is the magic of spirit, the magic of that infinite power of good, the power of spirit that seems to appear to take nothing and make it into something, the invisible behind the visible, if you will, because everything that we see started with an invisible cause, everything. There's nothing left out. So, say this after me. God makes a way where there appears to be none.
God makes a way where there appears to be none.
I don't want a way, so, wait a minute. That's one of my props. I'm so excited about it. Okay. So it is. When I wave that wand, and so it is. Life is forever unfolding into limitless potential. That is the truth, and so that's for us to deepen our understanding of. Your life, my life, evolving into its highest potential. That's why in Andrea's prayer, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the joy of what is yet to come. Of what is yet to come. Because it's good if we believe it's good. It's abundant if we believe it is abundant. So I want you to believe in magic this morning by giving you some images. So I have some images for you today. To help symbolize the magic of life. Because life is pretty magical. The trappings, I'm going to be using the trappings of a magician or a wizard of the olden times. So what are they? The wizard's robe, number one. The conical hat, pointing up. And, my favorite, the magic wand. So we're going to use each of these as a symbol for spiritual alchemy. Spiritual alchemy. Love that. So first we'll talk about the wizard's robe. One of the characteristics of the robe is that it symbolizes being in the flow, being embraced by spirit. The robe enfolds the wizard. It wraps itself around the wizard, just as the divine wraps itself around each and every one of us when we are aware of it. The presence is always there. The realization, that's what we deepen. We don't deepen spiritual truth. We deepen our understanding, our realization, our awareness of what spiritual truth really is and how we can use it in our decisions, which then become the cause of the new experience in our lives. Because leading a magical life, embracing Jesus' promise of an abundant life, does not necessarily mean we no longer have challenges in our lives. It is how we look to those challenges, how we look at them, and how we respond to them. That determines the next experience and the next. So stuff is going to happen, folks. It goes up, it goes down, it's going to happen. That's what we're doing here in this human experience. We're having all of these different experiences. It's our consciousness of how we respond to it and knowing that this too shall pass. All experiences pass. They don't stay. Am I right? An experience doesn't stay the same. Our thinking might, which creates the pattern, and so it might feel like it. But the eternal spiritual truth, that's permanent. That's eternal. That's the truth of who we are. That spiritual personality. We all individualize spirit. So oftentimes we can experience magic in a greater way when there is great sorrow or loss in our lives, and we're really feeling like we really got hit by, as I talk about, that spiritual 2x4, where we're just like bereft, just got knocked down. But this is the time when our hearts break open. So this is also the time where we move our paradigm of thinking. We've always thought a certain way and responded a certain way into a whole different way of doing it, because maybe we have never experienced this kind of depth of sorrow, pain, or whatever it is before. And so we're stepping outside of the box of our limited thinking. It shatters. It can shatter all of our limitations, all of those old, outmoded beliefs that we're carrying around. And we're stepping into the limitless possibilities. Remember I said, Dr. Alexander said, there is nothing to fear. I thought that was the most powerful thing of the whole lecture. You are loved and there is nothing to fear. People often ask, why do disasters, deep pain, loss, extreme circumstances occur? And perhaps we have some better questions. We have some better questions that we can ask ourselves when we're going through these different challenges in our lives. First is, what is there for me to know? This is taking place. It's taking place. What is there for me to know? How must I grow? How must I grow? How does this challenge open me up to greater spiritual understanding and a closer walk with God, with the divine? You will get answers, I guarantee it, if you stay open and receptive. Because I've done this when I've gone through certain things in my life, and I've always gotten answers on how I can deepen and clarify myself so I can experience more of this abundance of God, more of this peace of God. So I have a reading from Eric Butterworth, really great author, and he wrote, if you are faced with a challenge, this is a really good little reading, refuse to be panic-stricken. That's when the breath really helps us. When we got, anyone here have anxiety over certain things in their lives? Wow, it feels like you're being devastated. It really feels like the heart is breaking open. So you take a breath. Life has not ended for you, he writes. Life flows on. Declare for yourself, I accept this reality of this situation, but not its permanence. I love that part. Certainly, there is no point in hiding your head in the sand. The experience is there to be met. Determine that you will meet it, but on your terms. Do not let the outer happenings squeeze you into a box, he writes, but open your mind to the flow of wisdom, love, and good judgment, by which you can deal masterfully with it. When we are met with challenges, the original blessing of these situations may not be apparently clear, but and this is still Butterworth, but we can assure ourselves that as in the oyster shell, the pearl lies within our challenge. There's a gem within each and every one of us that is waiting to be cleared away. You know, so the irritation takes place, like in the oyster. So the irritation that takes place to reveal this beautiful gem that we are. The problem is, our problem is when we fail to remember that the presence we can really get into might be called the dark night of the soul, but all of this darkness is because we have tried to bend the law principle to fit this way of doing it instead of just opening up and asking ourselves those questions that I said. So this morning, Let us use the wizard's robe to symbolize being in the flow. That's what it's about. The first one was the robe. Second one is the conical hat. Now this doesn't stay on me. Thank you, Jeannie Gluwacki, for making it, but I don't have a little string. But this is the conical hat. And I'm not going to wear it right now. We'll put it on at the end.
Keep it.
What better way to symbolize our connection with spirit than a tall, pointy hat? The alchemy of spirit, which is magic, happens when we shift our focus from erroneous thinking, and that we do in this physical world as our source, and go right to the top where source is. This is source. Source of all good is God, and that is the truth of our lives. When we consciously connect with that truth, when we believe that, when we have faith in that, then we experience our peace, our harmony, our abundance, our love, all of those wonderful things, our prosperity. The substance of spirit is my daily supply, Ernest Holmes wrote. Substance of spirit is my daily supply. And then we have by Joel Goldsmith, thy grace is my sufficiency. We're using that in our new practitioner in training class. Thy grace is my sufficiency. Great affirmation. In our world of form, I know it doesn't appear, but God is the essence sometimes, or the source of things. It appears that people, places, and things, I know I've done that, are our source. Mm-hmm. Oh God, if this stuff's coming, then I won't have enough, and this will happen, and that will happen, because we are putting all of our power in the channels, not in the source. All of these things, these people, places, conditions, circumstances, jobs, relationships, all of them are channels. God is the source, and that's where we keep aligning ourselves with that. We keep aligning ourselves. God is the source of all of our good, not our jobs, our investments, our pensions, our mates, past or present. They appear to be, and it's very challenging sometimes because they can get really frightening. But we go to the belief. God is the source. Even when we're going through all of that friction, God is the source. In order to be truly abundant, we must absolutely have that shift in consciousness. We've got to continuously align to realize that there is only one source. There's only one source and supply, and that is God. So this conical hat represents the magic that happens in our lives when we stop looking outward, outside for our happiness, which can turn up as lack and limitation. But always, when we look inside, when we look upward, when we look Godward, that is the permanent source of our supply that nobody can touch, harm, or alter in any way. That will always be there in its divine givingness. So what is surrounding you? What are you missing? What are you paying attention to in your life that contributes to lack and limitation? That you might have made real. Because it feels real. It feels real in our physical body, in our thinking. But in reality, this too shall pass. It's not real. It's not real. The reality is the very top of the conical hat, which is this representing, is source, is spirit, is God. And so finally, our magic wand. What is this symbolizing? This wonderful wand. Very close. It's our magic wand that is symbolizing the transformative power of living from a spiritual realm, from spiritual truths that we learn here. That's what the foundation class is all about, teaching you how to understand spiritual truths, which, by the way, is an ongoing process. Anyone that tells you they're enlightened is not. So it's always, we are forever learning more, because we're forever deepening our understanding of what these spiritual truths really are. That power gives us the ability to magically transform any situation when we come from spiritual truth. We're in the realm of conflict and on challenges in our lives, But at the same time when we go, but I know, I feel this is true, but God is the source and supply, it's my eternal self, it's my life. That's when we magically transform our lives. So I want to give you 3 ideas, 3 abundant truths from Keys to the Kingdom, wonderful book by John Randolph Price, that if you lived by, it would be like having this magic wand that makes all things come true in your hand. So abundance truth number 1, I'm going to do this quickly. We live in an abundant universe, surrounded by lavish abundance, which I love. Can you count the grains of sand on a beach? The stars in the sky? The shades of green in your backyard? Probably not. Because everywhere we look, it's God expressing as nature abundantly. Nature is endless in its variation of expressing itself, and nature is God. The abundance of life is often overlooked because we easily confuse the truth of abundance with the temporary facts in our lives, that which is temporarily taking place in our lives. So the fact may be that you are temporarily experiencing lack or limitation in some aspect in your life. The facts change. The truth does not. The truth never changes. The relationship between the truth of the universal abundance and the facts of our sometimes limited experience is much like the relationship between light and darkness. We've heard this. Light and darkness. Light is a universal reality, yet you can experience darkness. You can experience by blocking out the light. You can create a temporary condition that seemingly defies the greater truth. But you can measure. But can you? Can you measure? Can you measure the speed of darkness? You can. You cannot quantify this physical presence. Can you turn on a darkness bulb? No, there's no such thing. But light is real, and darkness is not. You can measure speed. You can probably quantify it. You can't quantify its physical presence as waves or protons of light. You can turn on a light bulb. You cannot turn on a darkness bulb. There is no such thing. So light is the great reality, and spirit, God, is light. Spiritual truth number 2, just like light, abundance is inexhaustible. That's something for us to learn, because we have this false belief, maybe we grew up with it, it goes around that there's only so much for just the 1%, as they talk about in the news and stuff, just the 1%, and then it's all used up. There's more than enough. God is continually expressing itself and creating out of itself. So the results are very observable through nature. Flower seeds germinate, grow, bloom. Seeds themselves die, and the process begins again and again. We talked about that last week. Stars and galaxies do the same thing. It's forever replacing and expanding itself. Abundance is inexhaustible because the flow of spirit is ceaseless. Whatever you spend, lose, or give away today will be replaced. It will be, and by something even greater. Definitely with something greater. Why not? Let us think that, set our intention for that. So abundance truth number 3. Everyone deserves abundance. I like this one.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone deserves abundance. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Everyone deserves abundance. Everyone. And there is more than enough for all of us. It's the Father's good pleasure to give it to you. It's the Father's good pleasure to give it to you. You were made in the image and likeness of God. So who are you to say, I don't deserve it? I don't deserve this. That's not expressing our God-given nature. That's like taking the name of God in vain. That's taking the name of God in vain. Because you are an actual spiritual being having this human experience. So enjoy it. Create more of this abundance because you deserve it. Whoever told you you didn't lied to you. They lied. So Ernest Holmes wrote, thoughts of failure, limitation, or poverty must be counted out of your life once and for all. God has given us a power, and we must use it. We can do more towards saving the world by proving this law than all the charity has ever given. So let this magic wand symbolize the transformative power of living from these three spiritual truths. I have come so that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That is what was told to us. And it might seem like referring to Jesus as a magician, but that's not what is meant by this. Jesus was a spiritual alchemist, and we can each follow that example that was given to us. He came to show us how to evolve into a greater way of living life, how to express all that we are yet to be. And earlier I told you that I wanted to help you see the magic that's available to each and every one, because there is, by giving you some images. So I'm very visual, so I'm like images would stick better. So first we have the robe. The robe symbolizes being in the flow, being wrapped and embraced by the love of God. That is what we're using the robe for. No matter as conditions ebb and flow in our lives, as challenges come up and we're put into these states of panic and fear, always know that we are wrapped and enveloped in God's love. That is the truth. That is the truth. So I would like you to repeat after me. Today I create magic as I live in the flow.
Today I create magic as I live in the flow.
And embrace the fullness of life.
And embrace the fullness of life.
The conical hat. Really, what I do to give you a good talk, I'm telling you. Conical hat.
Happy Halloween.
The comical hat.
Conical hat. This is a symbol to turn away from a lack and limitation to the of what's missing, to the idea that God is the source, the very top of my hat. This is my source and way above that's flowing through my life. God is my source of all good. Yes, take a picture, Jeannie.
Born upon me.
Put that up on Facebook. So, speak aloud with me. It will be on Facebook, by the way. Today I create magic.
Today I create magic
As I connect with God as my source.
as I connect with God as my source.
And finally, the magic wand, my absolute favorite. A symbol of transformative power when we are living from spiritual truths. So say after me, please. Today I create magic as I practice spiritual truths.
Today I create magic as I practice spiritual truths.
And simply one more time. Today I create magic in my life.
Today I create magic in my life.
And thank you, God, and so it is.
Thank you, God, and so it is.